This is the second lesson of our first module, which is the zero trust model. Now, today's organizations need a new security model that is more effective and adapts to the complexity for the modern environment, embracing the mobile workforce and protecting the people and devices, apps, and data whenever they are located. Now, the security model to support this is called the zero trust model. So, in this session, we will discuss or describe the zero trust approach to security in Microsoft 365. We'll describe the components of the zero trust security and talk about the 5 steps to implementing a zero trust model in your organization and explain the zero trust network. The zero trust concept. Now, instead of assuming everything behind the corporate wall is safe, the zero trust model assumes breaches and verifies each request as though it originates from an open network. So trust nothing. So regardless of where the request originates from or what resources it accesses, zero trust teaches us to never trust, always verify, basically. Never trust, always verify. So every access request is fully authenticated, authorized, and encrypted before granting access. That's what it does. So we have the microsegmentation and least privileged access principles that are applied to minimize legal movement or lateral movement. So rich intelligence analytics are utilized to detect and respond to anomalies in time. So in zero trust, we have the principle, the zero trust principle. One of them is we have the security policy enforcement. Now, one of the zero trust principle is verify explicitly. Verify explicitly. What that means is that you always authenticate and authorize. Always authenticate and authorize based on all available data points, including user identity, the location, device health, service or workload, data classification, and any anomalies. So it looks at everything. So the identity, the things you are seeing here, identity, device, location, the service workload, and things like that. Now, then use least privileged access, meaning limit the access with just in time and just enough risk-based adaptive policy. This is to protect and secure the data. And assume breach. That is another principle. So there are 3 principles. Assume breach. So minimize the blast for breaches and prevent lateral movement. Verify all sessions. So basically you have to verify everything. So we can say in summary that the zero trust principles are 3. 1, verify explicitly. What are you verifying? The data points, user identity, location, device health, data classification, and anomalies. Then the second principle is use least privileges. That is, limit the user access with just in time and just enough access. Just enough access meaning give the users only what they need to be able to to carry out their work. No extras. Then the third principle is assume breach. Verify all sessions. Ensure they are encrypted and view them. So ensure that you prevent lateral movement by segmentation of your network. Your network should be segmented, users must be segmented, applications must be segmented. These are things you do to ensure that you protect. Now, the zero trust components are visible on the wall here. You can see on the slide, on the top left side, we have identities. Verify and secure each identity with strong authentication across the network. So here we are saying for identities, multi-factor authentication and also user session risk. You have to ensure that you encrypt. The second one is at the bottom left, which is devices. Gain visibility into the device accessing your network. Ensure that their statuses of health is known, device risk state and device inventory. Ensure that you, like you have just asked a question a few minutes ago, ensure that you are managing those devices. Then as you move to the far right side, we have the applications, apps. Discover shadow IT, ensure appropriate in-app permissions. Grant access based on real-time analytics and monitor and control the user actions of the apps. So we have access control runtime. We have access and runtime control. Ensure that you have that and adaptive access. For data, the top right, the very top one, you have classify, label, and encrypt. So from a perimeter-based protection, data-driven protection, use intelligence to classify and label the data, encrypt the data, and restrict access based on the organization policy. The infrastructure stands alone, as you can see there. For the infrastructure, you can use telemetry to detect attacks, anomalies, flag risks, anomaly behaviors, and employ what we call principle of least privileges or least privileged access principle. For the network, ensure that the devices and users aren't trusted just because they are on the internal network, but encrypt all internal communication, as you can see there. And then limit access by policy, and then employ microsegmentation and real-time threat detection. So these are the things that you're supposed to be doing. Now, how do we plan for zero trust model? Zero trust model eliminates the concept of trust based on network location within the perimeter. So you trust nothing. So when you look at zero trust, you assume that everything on the network is open and even resources. So we move from the world of implicit assumption to world of explicit verification. You verify everything, And a successful zero trust strategy requires seamless and flexible access to application systems and data while maintaining security for both the users, the resources that they need to have. And the 5 steps to ensure you secure your identity infrastructure includes 1, strengthening the credentials. You strengthen the credentials. So if your user identity systems are using weak passwords and not strengthened, you can strengthen using multi-factor authentication. Reduce your attack surface area by limiting, making it harder for hackers. How do you do that? Eliminate all the less secure protocols, Automate threat responses and increase your awareness and enable users for self-help. Eliminate the concept of trust based on network. Leverage the devices and user trust claims to get access to the data resources. And most of the time, you will take advantage of workloads, intelligence, people, and devices. So the first step to zero trust model is to ensure that you have strong identity and access. So when you talk about zero trust model, we assume that everything and all of the users are not secure, and you start by explicitly making it secure. Multi-factor authentications are example of them. Instead of assuming the user has a valid machine because of the network, verify that. Explicit verification and things. For zero trust networking, access to zero trust. Before most organizations start the zero trust journey, they have network security. Normally, the network security is characterized by few network security perimeters and open flat networks, minimal threat protection and static traffic filtering and an encrypted network. Now, when implementing the end-to-end zero trust framework for securing your networks, it's recommended that you focus first on the initial deployment objective, which is network segmentation. So what is network segmentation? Now, many egress or ingress cloud micro perimeter with some micro segmentation. You look at perimeter-based network only trust users inside, and single point of attack can threaten the entire network. So that's the starting point. That is normally the starting point for zero trust. These are the realities on the ground. So when you're implementing the end-to-end zero trust, do network segmentation. Then you move to threat protection by cloud native filtering and protection of known threats, and then encryption. So security teams and end user teams often use separate and disjointed tools. These are the things that happen